All right, we are back. Dynasty Trades in 5. I'm Clay.
I'm Shane.
I am Scott. We're actually doing a live stream. I didn't think this would actually come together
are.
since we only started talking about it about 8 minutes ago.
We've done
about 10 minutes ago. Yeah.
This is like our third or fourth live stream. I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely our second one. All right, boys. So lots to talk about. Is Breece Hall still the 101?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Just
sir.
took him 5 minutes ago. My first 101 after the draft. Just click draft tonight. Starts the morning, but I'm already locking it in.
So Steve said tier of 1. That's like spot on.
No, I think Breece Hall is still my 101, but a week ago I would have punched someone in the face if they tried to draft a wide receiver at 101. I understand it more now. I'm more understanding now that life has happened. You know what I mean? Like it's when things happen to you and you understand it. I went through this draft and now it's real. But still, yeah, I'm still going to go Breece Hall 101, man. That's a hell of a landing spot on that great Jets offense.
What a mess. What a mess. What about 102?
This is a build your own adventure.
Yeah.
If you want to go with Ken Walker, I absolutely 100% behind you. If you want to go with whoever your wide receiver 1 is, assuming I guess that's Drake London and Garrett Wilson, I guess someone could tell themselves it's Chris Olave, Jamison Williams. But right now I'm leaning towards taking a Mr. Walker.
Yeah,
I think
so
102.
Before we move on to, no, I was just going to say, like, what are your thoughts on Walker going to Seattle? How do you see it playing out with Carson and Penny? When is he going to touch the ball? How often? And when is he going to get that job? If he gets the job.
Kenneth Walker's an RB2. He'll never be anything more in Dynasty. To me, he's an automatic sell. To ever see him crack the top 8, we've talked about the running back tiers, historical finish numbers. I don't see a path that he ever finishes higher than that. So he is a scarce asset because he's a running back, but that's it. So, I mean, if you told me he's going to give you David Montgomery's career, and that's probably like his ceiling, and people are going to go, oh, no, he's better than that. He's got more juice than Montgomery. It doesn't matter. I think that's probably where he's going to end up slotting in. Give me a Josh Jacobs or David Montgomery career, and that's like a home run if you drafted Kenneth Walker. But at the same time, because there's only one running back that's even going to be sniffing the first round of drafts this year, unless we're starting to push up Rachaad White or James Cook, which I could see happening. But at the same time, like that's probably a pretty bad process given, where like Rachaad White got drafted. But like if I'm going to take Kenneth Walker at 102 and I'm going to expect RB2 production, but I'm also thinking I'm going to sell on the fact that he's really the only running back option besides Breece Hall.
I'm just saying, like he's landed in Seattle, right, where Christopher Carson landed. Christopher Carson's had 2 top 12 seasons in the last 3 years, or 4 years. I don't know how far that's going back. David Montgomery's had a top 12 and a top 6 season. If I can get that out of Mr. Walker, because
that'll work.
Yeah, and I think he'll always be worth more because, like Scott just said, people are looking down on him. If you compared him to David Montgomery right now, people be like, oh, no, he's much better. But if he goes out and puts out the same exact numbers as David Montgomery, everybody will be all over him. So, but I'm also going to trade him immediately as soon as I can.
That's always been your thing, regardless of whether he's got a good landing spot or a bad one. You were going to draft and trade Walker either way. Okay,
yeah,
so
I mean, he doesn't, unless Seattle, again, and they have a history of this, they take guys that you didn't really think are receiving back, specifically Chris Carson, and go, all right, well, we're just going to throw the ball to you. So that's possible they decide to do that with Kenneth Walker. I mean, it would make more sense to use Rashad Penny in a receiving role, but logic doesn't have a lot to do with what happens in football.
Well, let me contextualize this too. David Montgomery was RB4 in total points. He scored 17.7 points per game. Historically, that's like RB11 or RB10. So to say, oh, he had a top 6 season, that's not what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting for guys that can score at least 17 points per game. I mean, that's the max Montgomery has ever scored. For his career, he's like 14.4 or 14.5. So, I mean, if that's what I could get, I'll take it. But again, what have I said before many times? Like, I'm not shooting for 15 points per game. That's nice to have. If I don't have any and I'm happening to sit at the 102 or 103 and I only have one running back on my roster and I can add Kenneth Walker, I'm okay doing it. But I don't think he really ever gives you anything above replacement of what we talked about all the time. So there's a lot of other So I guess from an actionability standpoint, if I have 2 other running backs on my roster, 3 other running backs on my roster, I'm going to try to capitalize on the fact that there's only one running back in this tier besides Breece Hall, or in this like even first round tier besides Breece Hall. So I'm gonna play that. There's only one quarterback. There's only one running back. I'm going to play that based on the fact that I don't want to reach for a QB2 or an RB2 because they're scarce. I want to play that against somebody else and try to get an extra asset because I'm with Shane. I'm fine taking a wide receiver, but I feel like I don't want to do it at the 102 or 103 because I have scarce assets that should slot into those spots, if that makes sense.
I'd be fine taking the wide receiver there if I had an idea of which one's actually the wide receiver one. I guess I should say it's Drake London or Garrett Wilson, right? Except that it could be Chris Olave or Jamison Williams. So that's my problem when I try to. At least Walker, I know, is the running back too.
Let me ask you this: if you're more of a rebuilder and you have 102, would you recommend not going Walker? Would you go whoever you consider your wide receiver one to be? Because we always say, don't worry about RB, punt RB if you're in a rebuild. But what do you think? Do you draft him to hopefully trade him, or would you just take your wide receiver one?
I really don't want to draft someone at 102 to trade them. I got to be honest.
Yeah,
Like
right.
That feels like a 202 move I might make. Like Michael Carter on the board last year. I should have drafted him so I could have traded him, right? I really don't want to do that with the 102.
I mean, if you're in a pure rebuild where you're punting, I think you have to reframe the 101. It's in its own tier, right? You have to reframe that 102 and 105 are no different this year. There's zero difference. So if someone comes to you and they're at 105 and you're at 102 and they offer you a 2023 third to move up 4 slots, do I want him to have to pay more? Yeah. Do I want to, if Shane offers me that deal and I know Shane needs a running back and he's a contender and I'm just blowing my roster up, I don't want to give him a 3 slot bump for a 3rd round pick. But at the same time, I have no leverage there. Like he knows I don't want to take Kenneth Walker. He knows I'm fine taking whoever my RB or my wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 is. So I think this class, you just have to reframe what the value of these picks are. It is not the typical 102 to 105. No. I mean, this is more like moving around in the late first from a talent perspective. And with the scarcity perspective, the only thing you have to sell at the 102 is, hey, someone might need a quarterback. Hey, someone might need a running back. But you already know that you'd rather have Drake London over Kenneth Walker or Garrett Wilson over Kenny Pickett. So that's the difference. You just got to be willing to accept anything and not be stuck on prior values.
I'll say this, the more we talk about it, I already know I have no leverage. I can't get what I want out of this pick no matter what, right? So I might as well look at long-term and go, you know what? Me personally, I believe in Drake London and I believe in Garrett Wilson and I believe in, well, those two a lot more than I do Kenneth Walker. I can't trade out. I've tried to trade out. Everyone's tried to trade out. You can't trade out. I'm just at that point, I'll just take the wide receiver. I'll take.
So here's the question. Let's say Clay's in the position where he needs a running back. Clay has a good team, but he needs a running back. He's at 104. I'm at 102. I don't want to take a running back. Clay knows I don't want to take a running back. So he's offering me a cheap ass deal to move up 2 spots. The question is, I know I should take it because I don't care. I'm going to take the receiver at the 102. He's calling my bluff, right? He's saying, hey, I know you don't want to take Kenneth Walker, so why would I trade with you when I know that's who I'm after and you really don't want to take him? He offers me a 3rd. Most people would laugh at a 3rd. They would go, oh, that doesn't move the needle. I bet Shane would laugh at a 3rd. He would say, oh, that's not worth my while. I kind of agree with that in the sense of, do I want to cheapen my product enough to allow that deal to go through, or do I just hold my ground and still take the wide receiver? Yes, I take the loss on not getting anything, but do I want to cave and only give the 3rd? Is that worth it to establish that maybe you're an easy trader to get over on?
You didn't establish anything. I think everyone understands what this class is. I think everyone realizes, you know what, if I tried this next year, right? You know, when there's 5 running backs that are all generational and there's 3 wide receivers that are generational and 2 quarterbacks, there's no way Shane or Scott's going to take that trade then. I think it's just being pragmatic at this point. It's like, am I going to just not take the trade despite, out of spite, which is fun. It's fun to do things out of spite, but even a 3rd, if I can get it thrown in, I'm not going to be excited about it, but at least it's added value when I wasn't going to make that pick anyway. No matter what I was going to do, it wasn't going to be Kenneth Walker. And being quite honest with you, I still don't even know which one of the wide receivers is the wide receiver 1. So even dropping back there, I don't even mind.
If I'm at 102 and somebody wants to move up from 104, I'm not doing it unless I'm getting a second round pick. I'm just not doing it. And if that means me taking a wide receiver or drafting that person's running back and then having the leverage and knowing that that's what he or she wanted, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to trade it away for a 2023 third. I'm not going to move back to the 104 from the 102.
No,
So maybe I'll end up keeping that 102 and not, moving back, but that's not enough for me.
Here's the problem though. So we know Kenneth Walker's I'd say a significant tier below Breece Hall, right? So if you draft him with that mindset, he's stuck on your roster. He's a real person at that point. Like, he's on your roster. You have to move him as a person, not the idea of him. You have to move him in week 8 when we go, this dude has 2 targets on the year. Like, are you absolutely kidding me? Like, this is what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, all the
Yep.
bad things can happen. Obviously, it can go the other way and he can turn into Jonathan Taylor. He won't, but he could in theory. I just think it's safer not adding him to my roster and having him be stuck there.
Okay, so if you had 102 and the person at 104 is offering you 104 and the 210 for the 102, you would hit accept on that and just do it.
Yeah, because I don't want to draft Kenneth Walker at 102. I established that 6 months ago when people made him the 102. So I'll take it, whatever. Hey, 210, I might get oh no, I'm not getting Rashad White anymore, am I?
Let's see here. Need a community mock. Yeah, I like the idea right there, Patrick. Do a community mock. Good call.
Just for the Dynasty and Trades in 5 community.
Yeah.
Screw other people.
Yeah, the other community is way too big here. How do I need a community? There we go. Hide that. Okay, so let's talk about Superflex. Okay, so Pickett, he goes to the Steelers at 20. Where do you think he's gonna go? I was listening to your Dynasty and Chill Patreon episode, Scott, but where do you guys think Pickett's gonna go in a Superflex? He went to an awesome organization. Like, talk about a dream landing spot for a QB, right? But when are you going to take him in a Superflex?
I think he's basically the quarterback version of Kenneth Walker. If you took him in the top 3, I don't think you're doing anything wrong. I think you're probably overreaching based on the scarcity of the position. But I think in a lot of leagues, there's teams that are chasing quarterbacks, and there's one in this draft. And if you're stuck making the pick, I would rather draft Kenny Pickett in a team where I'm not contending versus Kenneth Walker.
Right.
So if I'm taking him at the 103, let's say the first 2 picks are Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, and I'm at the 103. I'm kind of exploring the same idea, like you said, like, can I trade down and get a second or something like that? But I'm okay taking Kenny Pickett. Now, is it the most exciting prospect that's come in at quarterback? No, but I mean, you can argue that he has a decent landing spot. Like, you're probably shooting for the high-end quarterback 2 outcomes that we talk about for a lot of other guys, like the Derek Carrs or Kirk Cousins, or, hopefully he ever gets to a range where we've seen like Carson Wentz get before the quarterback landscape was any good. You've seen a guy rise up. He's not going to probably get into that range now because the quarterbacks at the top are so strong. But I could argue taking him at the top 2 or top 3 for the same exact reason. Yep. It's a scarce asset. You just have to leverage that. It's like, so I'll tell a real brief story, and it kind of taught me something for Dynasty, so I think it'll kind of help others. But I remember I used to be a season ticket holder for the Columbus Blue Jackets, so the hockey team in Columbus. And they went through a stretch where they were just absolutely horrible. And they were drawing, only like 30% capacity. And this was near the end of the season, and they asked me if I wanted to renew my tickets. And I was like, well, one of the issues is, I've actually wanted to take like friends or like coworkers and stuff to games before, but you can't buy any cheap tickets because they literally don't put tickets on sale cheaper than what the market price is because they don't want to undermine their product. They would rather have 5,000 people in the arena than basically say, hey, these tickets are just going to be empty. Why don't you sell them at an auction on your website for like $5? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy just literally said, like, we would rather eat the tickets and never get a dime for them than give them away for $3. Because basically then next year people will be expecting that tickets are cheaper. And really, that's not that would be lying to our customers. And it's kind of the same thing with that trade. Like, if all I'm going to get is a third and I have to move back 3 slots, I almost just decline it out of principle because I'm cheapening the market. You know what I mean? And it's taught me something for Dynasty. I never thought about it that way. I was always like, dude, why wouldn't you just take $3 and you could sell an extra 2,000 tickets? That's $6,000. And they're just like, that doesn't matter. That's not worth our revenue given what we want our product to be going forward. So that was an interesting take, and I think it applies in this case too.
I don't know. It just doesn't feel like an apples to apples comparison to me. Look, we are not a business. We're not. I know we like.
We
to
are,
pretend,
Shane.
Oh, yes, we are.
We like to pretend this is we are. So make sure you buy our merch. I know we like to pretend this is stocks and bonds and mutual funds and whatnot, right? The difference is this market shifts all the time, and everyone knows that plays in it. Like this market changes almost daily. It's more like daily stock trading, if that's a thing. It is a thing. Day traders or whatever.
It's very much.
There's no precedence that really gets set. What happens is a precedent gets set. Yes, someone will send an offer after you've accepted a trade, and you go, no, that was a one-time deal. Like that's never happening again. I did that because blah 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 blah. It's only a precedent if you continue to go, all right, well, this is what I'm going to do. You do it once, it's a one-time thing. It's like, it happened in college. Everyone experiments in college. It doesn't count.
Here, let's move on. Let's move on to this because we've been talking 23 first. So I'm going to put it back up on the screen. 102 for a 23 first plus. So 102 versus a 23 first. Let's call it a mid 23 first, straight up, right? Straight up.
Yep.
Yeah. We
like
were
any 23 first. Even if you look at it and it's like this is a clear playoff 23 first, you're still taking the 23 over the 102.
I mean, you're going to try for more, but again, at the same time, like what player in this class can you draft and he's on your roster and in the next 2 months you could get a 23 first before the season? Because Shane hit the nail on the head. Once the season starts, the market starts to shift. So if you draft the right 23, if you draft the right receiver and this dude smashes in the first month and it looks like he's the next Jalen Waddle, then of course you can get a 23 first. But if you draft Chris Olave and he gets hurt and misses the first 6 weeks and come back and starts slow, like you're not even sniffing a top 20 pick next year. You know what I mean?
Yep. So
I think if you can get it and you just don't feel comfortable with who I'm going to pick at 102, I can't argue with it. Not at all. I saw on Twitter today, someone traded a 101 for a 23 first and second. And I think that's a little extreme, but like if you're going to do that, and that's actually a deal somebody's considering to make, 102, 103, 104. I mean, I have no qualms in doing it, especially if I can bet against the other team pretty strongly.
Yeah, one thing I would suggest, we play in some like pretty competitive leagues because we're so cool, right? No, but when people are like, should I trade the 105 straight up for a 23 first? I always say, yeah, but like, have something on the other end of that. Act like they're still getting the best deal. You send your 105 for a 23 first and a third, and you know damn well that you would tack a third onto the 105 to move back to 2023. But don't just send an offer 102 for a 23 first. You're showing your hand, So at least ask like you're doing them a favor by tacking on something else.
The only way I've been trying to go the other way with this is I've been trying to get multiple 2022s for one singular 2023 first. Like if I can get 2 shots at these wide receivers at like 104 and 107, because I just did rankings and apparently wow. Yeah. So if I could get like 104 and 107, which I don't know if anyone's willing to do, to be quite honest with you, I'm fine with taking the 2022 picks, but a singular pick, we were already moving this way anyway, right? I mean, if you watch the progression of Dynasty's trades in 5, not only do the shows get longer, but what we were willing to accept for a 2023 first the range has gotten like wider and wider and wider. Yeah. Like, it started off like, probably like 107, 108. And now the day after the draft or the night that the draft is finished, we go 101 is basically the only pick that I will hold on to. Anything else you can have. I
mean, I've had it at 105 or around from the get-go.
For a long time. Yeah. It's looking like that was the right call. Now it's 102 straight up. Freaking ridiculous. Okay, let's talk wide receivers. So you said you guys don't even know who your 101 is, but let's talk about the guy who went first in the draft to the Falcons, Drake London. What are your thoughts on that landing spot? Obviously, currently Mariota is the quarterback, but you got Pitts and him. The target narrative is there. What do you think about London?
I'm so conflicted on all these players, right? Marcus Mariota, one of the issues with him, and we don't know how long he's going to be a quarterback there, is that he's scared to throw the ball into tight windows, deep, basically, unless you're 3 yards open of separation by yourself, he's not really comfortable with throwing you the football. Drake London generally has someone draped on or right on his hip, which he might not even see targets from Marcus Mariota. Now, we don't know how long Mariota is going to start there, right? Like, I expect Desmond Ridder basically to take that job as soon as the coaching staff realizes that Mariota is a trash can. So maybe like week 8. Long term, I'm fine with it. No, you think I'll last longer than week 8? All right. Long term, I'm
Desmond
fine
Ridder
with it.
is just a trash can.
I mean, look, Desmond Ridder, at least I don't think is afraid to throw the football. Marcus Mariota, as a quarterback, is scared to throw the football. He's like, "Oh,
it's true. It's true. It's like,
that
are you sure
window's
you want
too
to hire
tight, I
me?
can't
I'm
do
afraid
that."
to throw the football. You sure you want to hire me? Yeah.
But I like London, but he's not my 101.
Scott, what do you think about London? What did you think about that landing spot?
I mean, if you're looking for early production, then I can see where maybe it's a little bit hindered. But I mean, what are we really looking at for early production expectations? I mean, if he has 900 yards, 800, 900 yards, and is just
awesome, right?
a viable touchdown threat. Like, I think that if he can crack the top 30 or so as a rookie, I think we'll accept that as being like a solid rookie season. And I do think the Falcons are probably, I hate to speculate, well, Falcons are the favorites to get a quarterback next year, but I do think they're in the mix. They're one of the 3 or 4 teams that if you had to bet, like just Vegas odds, who's going to be picking in the top spot next year, they're right there. So I don't think this is a long-term plan for the Falcons to go with Desmond Ridder or Mariota. Clearly not Mariota, but I don't even think Desmond Ridder. I don't think he prohibits you from drafting another quarterback. It is interesting that some of these teams that are favored to be picking and near the top, them, Carolina, they take a quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like you're setting yourself up for a situation where what if you do hit on a quarterback that you like? It's almost like worst case scenario for the Falcons is Desmond Ridder does play more than half the season and actually looks good. Because then you're like, next year, man, then I'm not as aggressive. If I'm 10% less aggressive to get a quarterback next year, that might be bad. You know, that could tie Drake London to Desmond Ridder for 2 bad seasons after this year. And you're like, ugh, I don't like that. So there is a little risk there. It is interesting that those 2 teams, both Carolina and Atlanta, chose to take one of these quarterbacks that fell into the 3rd round. But I'd be fine taking him at wide receiver 1. It's him or Garrett Wilson if I had to pick, and you really made me select and I couldn't trade. It'd be one of those 2.
Yeah. So let's move to Garrett Wilson. What are your thoughts on him, Shane?
I said it before the draft. I mean, he supplanted Treylon Burke. No. Yeah, as multiple other wide receivers did, unfortunately. But he's a wide receiver 1 of the class, I think. I think he's the most complete wide receiver. I don't know how to put it else any better than that. I forget who I was reading, but he noted how, Corey Davis is an X receiver for the Jets, whereas Elijah Moore is more of a slot guy. And then Garrett Wilson's kind of, oh, wait, I can do actually everything really well. So I'm going to do everything really well. And that's what I see him as. I see him as whatever team he's on, he's the wide receiver 1, which is why I was furiously trying to get rid of Elijah Moore before the NFL draft and was unable to. But I think Wilson is the easily the 101.
Yeah, that team, man. The Jets are going to be one of those teams who are going to be kind of exciting to see how this.
Unless Zach Wilson is truly
unless he's a trash can, to use your word. So, Treylon Burke. So they basically traded AJ Brown for Treylon Burke is what it seemed like. What are your thoughts? I know there's like some stuff involved there with money and whatnot, but what do you think about Treylon Burks in Tennessee?
I like Treylon Burks. He's the discount version of AJ Brown, right? Except that AJ Brown's an excellent, better route runner and has better hands, bigger catch radius, and is just superior in every way. But I like that spot for Treylon Burks.
Yeah, I think he's in the next tier with Jamison Williams, and unfortunately, that tier is just. You wish this type of profile and this type of risk that you would have to take with both him and Jamison Williams didn't have to come at the price that it does. But it does. So, I think you have to slot him in that next tier, like right after Wilson, right after London. And I just want to address this question that we got too with why not draft Drake London and hold till he's worth a 23 first.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of risk in that because I will tell you that 75% of the receivers in this class, you will not be able to get a 23 first for. So you basically have to be able to pick the 1 or 2 that is going to blow up, not just be good, but blow up. You know, you can't get a 23 first right now for Rashad Bateman. You cannot get one for Devontae Smith. Like, and those guys hit last year, and they are coveted wide receiver 2s that are still young. So I don't see it. I don't see, unless you get the one that smashes, which I think we can all agree. We can look at 4 or 5 or 6 guys in this class that are receivers and say one of them could smash, right? One of them could be great. But if you're telling me I have to pick that right now and forego maybe getting the 23 first in my pocket right this second, because as soon as that car drives off the lot, if it's not the fastest car amongst all the other ones, the shot of getting a 23 first is gone. That's just how I think the market's going to play out. And there was another comment that we didn't put up the screen that was basically the reason you get the 23 first is because you're going to bet on the opposite during the season. You're going to bet that there's somebody desperate to trade away like 2 productive aging players, and you can literally coast to a title or be the heavy favorite when you get to week 10 and someone's willing to trade you Mike Evans and Christian McCaffrey or something like that for 1 first. You know, especially if you have 2 or 3 in your pocket and you're willing to trade the one that looks like it's the best one. I think those are the deals that I'm going to be trying to strive for, which is why I want to have the extra first in my pocket versus, I'll just draft Drake London because I'm so confident that he's going to smash and be worth more than a 23 first. I don't think that's going to be the case. So I just want to put that out there because it is a good question. Yep. I'm not confident enough in which receiver to pick that I'm clearly thinking I can sell for a 23 first. I don't know if Shane thinks anything different, but I'm not enough.
This is why I keep harping on it. Like, I want at least 2 of the top 5. If I'm taking, you know what I mean? Like, I want the 103 through the 106 because I know I'm going to miss on one of them. Like, I can just almost guarantee it.
Oh, yeah.
The chances are I'm not going to hit on those. And I don't know which one it's going to be. It's not like I'm drafting Garrett Wilson and going, I have no doubt about it. He's going to be a stud. And I drafted him over Chris Olave because I know Chris Olave is going to be a trash can. I know Chris Olave is going to smash in New Orleans.
Yeah, he might. Who knows? Let's do this though real quick. So the 102, where are we at now in terms of veterans that we would accept, straight up for giving away the 102? Because way back we were like, yeah, if you could get like a T Higgins or, what have you for the 102, what is the worst player that you would take right now for 102?
I don't know. Mike Evans?
Like what tiers? That low, huh? I don't know.
No. I think if you're playing so here's a scenario. If you're playing the 102 game, like we talked about earlier, you're potentially sitting on a running back or a quarterback, right? Whether you want to take them there or not. I think there might be someone in your league that views that pick as, hey, I want Kenny Pickett, or hey, I want Kenneth Walker. I do think you can be a little aggressive because you may go to the team that has 104, 105, 106. Hey, Shane, hey, Clay, you want to trade up? No, I'm good. What are you willing to offer? I don't. There will be people that say, I don't really even want to offer you anything because I don't really want the running back or quarterback. And I know you don't want him either. So I'm just going to let him fall because I'm fine taking Kenneth Walker if he falls to the 106. At that point, I'm like, okay, that's pretty good value, but I don't really need to take him. If I like 3 receivers that are in my first tier, why would I even bother? So I think you're going to get a lot of people that go no interest in trading up at all. Mm-hmm. Even for a third, like they don't even want to give up their third because they figure, well, in the season, I can buy a couple week starter with a third. So why would I give it up now to just pick when I don't even know who to pick? So I think you can pivot and go, hey, does anyone, I would be this blunt in the chat. Does anyone need a quarterback? Does anyone need a running back? You should pick Kenneth Walker here. You should pick Kenny Pickett here. Does anyone want to trade a veteran receiver? And I'm still fine shooting for, the higher tier receiver range that you probably couldn't get for this pick before. I'm fine asking for that, but you're probably not going to be able to get it. You're not getting like Deontay Johnson because they drafted a receiver, maybe.
Yeah, or shoot for like DJ Moore, or Deontay.
No, if someone, shoot for that. If someone is doing it in your league, never mind. I'm not going to speak ill of people I don't know, but like that, I can't imagine in any league I'm in that someone would be like, sure, here's DJ Moore. Give me the 102. If they would, I would mouth kiss them and probably throw in some tongue.
Yeah. So let's talk about Jamison Williams. I didn't hear that. Luckily it's live and it's going to post to YouTube, but I'll be able to hear that one. I won't have to cut it. Everybody else will hear it too. Let's talk about Jamison Williams going to the Lions. I mean, it was a smart pick on their part, right? Like they don't care about the ACL. Jameson can take his time, and he's a good player. What are your thoughts on JMO, as everybody loves to call him? And I love.
That's his nickname. That's what we're giving him, JMO. That's the best we could come up.
I've seen it a lot. Yeah.
Jesus. He's another guy that I think has a chance to be a wide receiver, not a wide receiver one, the wide receiver one out of this class. They're like, just throw them in a bag. They are all the same dude. They just look a little different and their names are a little different, but they're all the same guy, even if their play styles aren't. At one point, if it wasn't for the torn ACL, he would have been the first wide receiver drafted. Instead, he came off the board at what? Where are we looking? I'm sorry. He came off the board at 12 overall. So, Jameson? Yeah, where was he? Where did he come off the board?
No, Jamison Williams was drafted at the 12th pick after Garrett Wilson. Yeah,
I just said that, the 12th overall, and you told me 12. No.
12th overall. I was thinking wide receiver overall in terms of like.
Oh, no. It
was wide receiver 4 in the class, 12 overall. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, it's funny because when you look at when you phrase things, it's funny how you phrase things, right? Just for wide receiver, you go, "Oh, it's wide receiver 4 in the class." Like, I don't know if I want him. So if he was drafted 12th overall, and then you look at the QB 2, and he was drafted, I don't even know on what this morning around 18. It's just funny to me.
So Ritter,
yeah, but no, I like Jameson again. This is why I want as many picks in this little meaty sack part of the draft. I'll take, I want anywhere from the 103 to about the 108, 109, because I'm assuming someone's going to draft Kenny Pickett. And then I'm just going to take whichever wide receiver's there that it's going to be personal bias at that point, to be quite honest with you, depending on who's left.
Yeah.
I think the other interesting thing with Jamison Williams is how are we going to treat a season that is probably in a suboptimal situation, but it's also a season where, like you said, Clay, the Lions don't necessarily care what they get out of him next year. Like, I'm sure they want to see a lot from him next year, but I don't think they're going to be stressing if he is not full go 100% on the field in week 1. You know what I mean? So how in the community are we going to react like that? Because he had this injury prior. This wasn't like a Rashad Bateman situation where he got hurt in camp and then was going to miss the first month of the season. This was an injury that we've all known about, presumably has already played into his NFL draft value, right? Like, we assume that went into people's evaluation. Like, hey, maybe he wasn't the wide receiver 1 in the class for the NFL because of this injury, but we've already known about the injury as well. So it's like it's already been baked in. My question is, if we're talking about the year 1 to year 2 time for these receivers, we kind of know historically if receivers don't smash from year 1 to year 2, it's very hard for their value to get to a range where it's like, I have to have this guy. I'll give you 2 firsts for him. You know what I mean? So we kind of already know that might be milked in. Does it hurt him at all knowing he might start a little bit slow this year? Or are you just going to assume that the community is going to give him a pass for that entirely?
I think that's going to insulate his value. I think he's going to get a pass. I think those are my personal thoughts. I think he's talented enough to where he'll get a pass, and he could totally flop. Maybe not, but what do you think, Shane?
I'm sorry, I was just looking at Ruben's comments.
He's one of the, you were Googling meat sack.
No. I mean, look, we make excuses as a community. We make excuses for rookie wide receivers all the time. I mean, we just do. We go, well, it's bad coaching. They didn't have a training camp. They had an injury. Their quarterback was bad. I mean, when we know those excuses generally don't matter, right? Like at a pretty high percentage.
We selectively make those excuses for profiles we like, and we reaffirm ourselves on profiles we don't like. We selectively do it. That's the thing.
But I'm just saying, we throw it out there a lot where we're like, oh no, well, this and this happened. And, and I'm always like the Grim Reaper in the corner going, it doesn't matter. You're still going to die. Like, it does not matter. I'm sorry. You're still going to be bad if you don't hit year 1. And I'm already willing to give him a little bit of a cushion, except that I won't, because what'll happen is this time next year, if he doesn't smash in the 6 games that he plays, 7 games that he plays, 8 games that he plays, if he doesn't show me enough, I'm already going to move off of him. And because I know the rest of the community, not all of the community, but a good part of it is going to go, well, he was injured. He was a rookie. He had Jared Goff, blah, blah, blah. And I'll go, no, you're right. You're right. Those are all valid points. Please take him from me. And then I'll trade him.
So let's keep moving. Let's talk about Christian Watson. What are your thoughts on him going to Green Bay? They traded up to grab him. Go.
I tweeted out earlier, and I think people took this as a shot at Christian Watson that Christian Watson has bad hands and he's about bad route runner. He's very raw at the age of 23, and they gave him to Aaron Rodgers, who is notoriously just hard on rookies as it is, and hard on rookies that make mistakes. This could go very badly very quickly. That doesn't mean I don't like Christian Watson, though. Like, how can you not love the physical tools? Like, the dude is just a monster. So it's really going to depend on, is Aaron Rodgers going to want to actually work with this kid instead of just yell at him, berate him, and break his soul down. So I like Christian Watson. I think right now I have him. Yeah, I have him at my 112. But I mean, again, that's not saying a lot because this class, that isn't that impressive. But I have him at 112. Like, the upside is there. The floor is absolutely zeros.
Yeah, so I know you asked about Christian Watson specifically. I think we already nailed Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks, and Jamison Williams. I think in a lot of drafts, those are going to be one through 4, right? I think Chris Olave is going to be, just by the default, the 105 or 106 receiver-wise, like wide receiver 5 or 6 for most people. But then you're going to have this mix where people are going to stray from draft capital and go, okay, I like Sky Moore better than those guys. I like Christian Watson better. I like George Pickens better. I think you end up getting this tier of Christian Watson, George Pickens, Sky Moore, Jahan Dotson, and they can go off the board at any order. I think it's going to depend on who's in your draft. I'm with Shane. If I'm at the 112, I'm assuming that it's going to go, those 8 receivers are going to go, and I'm going to get stuck with Christian Watson. But that's not horrible. You know what I mean? I don't see that as a major difference between Jahan Dotson or between Sky Moore. So I think you just have to talk about this whole tier in terms of, like, it's just one giant tier. And it's literally going to be like your entire first round of your drafts is going to be like 9 receivers. It's going to go probably Pickett and Walker and Breece, and then just the rest are going to be receivers, I think. In most leagues.
So if
we're already moving James Cook up to running back 3, 112 in this class, and before we know it, Rashad White's going to get pushed up there too. I'm more okay with it with Cook than I am with White, but one of those two is going to, if not both of them, are going to be a mistake and draft too high.
Yep, I agree.
So let's talk about what you need to trade to be able to get into this area. Let's just say we're living in the 107, 108 range right now. Okay, I'm just using random picks there. What do we need to throw in if we don't have any first round picks? What do we need to put together to be able to get to the 107? Like, what if you have the 202 and the 206? Are you going to give that up for the 107?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Shane? 202 and 206 or 107?
No, I'll take the 107. I'm just looking at, again, I'm looking at my very projected, my very early rankings. And at 107, I like the player a lot more than I do who I'm going to get at 202 and then at 206. And I understand that the logic behind taking the 2 picks. You're taking in a similarly tiered class with a lot of questions. You're getting 2 shots instead of 1. I'm still going to take the shot on my specific player right there is Treylon Burke. I'm still going to take the shot on that player.
So in a super flex, are you taking this is kind of switching topics, but are you taking Christian Watson over Pickett?
No.
Like, when does he? You're taking Pickett. Okay, so where are we taking Pickett then?
I mean, I don't want Pickett or Kenneth Walker. I want to just play the fact that they're a scarce position. So I mean, I guess Pickett will be, if I happen to be in a draft and I'm at the 109, 110, and there's 6 receivers off the board. And I mean, for me, it's different because I'll probably look at it like, okay, I haven't drafted Sky Moore in a league yet, so I'm fine taking him over Pickett. I haven't drafted George Pickens in a league yet. Just going to depend on kind of where you're at. But I don't really want to draft Pickett. And so it kind of comes to the point where every time I'm on the clock and he's available, I should be trying to say who wants a quarterback.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, bring it to light that a quarterback needs to come off the board.
Shane may have a more specific answer, like, hey, if these guys are off the board, I'll pick them.
Here's the problem, and I love Scott, and look, I'm a dreamer as well, and he's dreaming of these situations where there's someone that's going to save me, right? Someone's going to save me from having to make this pick. I know I'm on the clock, and there's 30 minutes left, and it's been 7.5 hours. No one is coming to save me. Everyone knows that I'm forced, right? So I'm going to take Kenny Pickett at 109 because, quite frankly, Sky Moore and Christian Watson and even James Cook, they're all just as questionable to me as Kenny Pickett, except that Kenny Pickett's in a more valuable position.
So you're taking Kenneth Walker over Kenny Pickett. Slam dunk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. Pickett's not till 109.
Then like what receivers? That was Clay's question. Name the 6 receivers you're going over Kenny Pickett.
Okay. Yeah. I'm taking Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Jamison Williams, Chris Olave, who I didn't even like, and Treylon Burks.
Treylon Burks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would take Pickett ahead of Olave, and then I think I'm right with you on the others.
I'm incredibly low on Olave, is what I've seen compared to the market, and I still think if Olave hits, and if they both hit their ceilings, right? If both players were to hit their ceilings, Olave and Kenny Pickett, I think Olave's ceiling's a wide receiver 1, maybe low end, and Kenny Pickett's is QB 16. And obviously I could be wrong. Who knows? Kenny Pickett could that was only 5, was it, Kyle? Okay. There was also
Kyle checking our math.
Well, there was also Breece Hall and Kenny Walker. Right.
Shane said the 109, but then he only counted out 7 players ahead of Pickett. So technically,
I'm sorry, Jahan Dotson. I have Jahan Dotson.
Okay.
I don't have the Jahan Dotson in the same tier as Christian Watson and Sky Moore. I just can't win a guy's drafted that high. Like I'm gonna trust the NFL being smarter than me in that specific instance. He's got first half, being really specific there, first half of the first round draft capital. So I trust him a lot more than I do Sky Moore and Christian Watson. So I'm sorry, I missed him, but yeah, all those guys over Kenneth Pickett.
So
go ahead, Seth.
I wanted to add this was you asked what it would take to get into this range. Like, does anyone want to actually buy these picks? One of the rules I've always talked about is before you click draft on a receiver, what receiver can you trade for?
Yep.
And I'm looking through the ADP right now. Like, if I offer you Darnell Mooney for one of these picks, Shane, where's your cut line to where you would trade the pick for Darnell Mooney? Given what we know now, the fact that the Bears basically didn't draft anything except for a trash can receiver in the 3rd. Like Jahan Dotson or Darnell Mooney? He's on the clock. You can take Dotson or you get Mooney.
I'm taking Dotson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same with Allen Robinson.
Yeah. I know everyone's in love with Allen Robinson's landing spot now, but yeah.
Marquise Brown.
I don't know. It gets close there. So it's definitely just, and all those wide receivers are kind of in the same tier. So we're getting into personal preference there, but definitely that tier of player, I could see it. Yeah.
But the reason I asked 3 random names like that is because I think there are deals to be made with these picks. If you truly just don't want to pick, because historically, if you look at the first round and you're just looking at the hit rate of guys that are drafted in the top half of the first round, like you're over 50%, but not by much. And then when you extend that out 3 more players with Pickens, Watson, and Sky Moore, you're probably looking at less than a 50% hit rate on that group of 9 players. So you're going to have probably 4 busts out of that group of 9. So if you can get out of the 108, 109 for one of these veteran wide receiver 2s or 3s, I'm not opposed to doing that. It takes the choice out of your hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So again, and this is just, we play different ways, right? Like I definitely shoot more upside. I've seen the ceiling and I've seen what those other gentlemen are, right? Except for Marquise Brown, because now he's with Kyler Murray. So I'm going to tell myself a story where he's going to have 1,300 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. But Allen Robinson, he's going to be the wide receiver 2 on his own team. If he has a really good year, I think he'll be the wide receiver 15. Darnell Mooney is going to regress. It took him 160 targets to be a wide receiver 2 last year. It's just not going to happen again. I don't care if they didn't draft anyone, and you're just going to discount Velus Jones. He knows his name. That's all that matters. Just going to discount that guy. He's a grown man, Scott. He's like 25. He's definitely going to get targets. Okay. But no, I mean, your point's well taken, but it's going to depend on the player, right? Because like someone that meets like, all right, let me get the mystery box. Box.
And I am Mr. Literally get me out of this class.
Yeah.
So I think that's where Shane and I actually can be able to make some trades. So that's a good, we've arrived to a neutral place, Clay. Go ahead.
And I saw one of the commenters commented that I like this class. No. I'm being pragmatic. There's a difference. I don't like most things in life, but you know what I mean? I deal with them because I'm a pragmatist.
Shane doesn't like.
Shane just wants all of the picks so he can pick everybody and be wrong on a lot, but be right on some. No, let's talk about Sky Moore. So goes to Kansas City. Obviously, he's going to get the Kansas City bump, but what are your thoughts on him? I mean, he could go like wide receiver 3 in some of these rookie drafts, right? I mean, just as high as that.
Yeah, friend of Scott and ours and yours, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. Jordison? Sure, I don't know anyone's name. Jordan.
Jordison is probably not his name.
Jordison. Analytics of Dynasty. You know, he's throwing out tweets out there. And at one point, Sky Moore was definitely crushing Chris Olave and some other very more highly drafted wide receivers. I'm fine if Sky Moore falls. I don't want to say falls to me, but if Sky Moore is in that 108 to 111 range, I'm fine taking him there. I'm not taking him over any of the big receivers. I'll just call them the big 5, 6, whatever it is.
And he's not going to fall there. I'm with Shane, and with what the polls were saying, I think he's going to end up firmly being wide receiver 4, 5, 6 versus his draft capital said, you know, he is wide receiver 12 or 11. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's going to rise up because of the landing spot. And I like Sky Moore. I actually took Sky Moore in 2 drafts prior to the NFL draft, and I'm glad I did, because I'm sitting here going like, I'm not going to get him now unless I'm willing to give up the 106, 107 to get him. And I think it's probably bad process to take him over Treylon Burks or over Chris Olave, but that's where he's going to go. He's going to get boosted up. He's going to be a top 6 receiver in pretty much every draft.
He was one guy that honestly stood out to me at the combine. I was watching him catching passes. He's just natural as hell catching the ball. It was just like glued to his hands.
Look, at 110, I absolutely love him. At 109, I love him. It's just, if he's going to get bumped up to 104, 105, I'm not in on it. So I'm probably going to miss out on him in a lot of leagues.
Okay. Who do we need to talk about next? Pickens.
Look, man.
I mean, is he like kind of like a Claypool?
He will be. Yeah, he will be my highest drafted receiver, because I think people are going to tell themselves a story that he's the most blocked. As much as Pittsburgh is a great landing spot, he is the most blocked of all these top 9 receivers. So he's going to end up going wide receiver 8 and wide receiver 9.
Yep.
It's one of the few values I'm going to see, and I'm fine if I have a 111 or 112. I'm literally fine sitting there and going, okay, Christian Watson, Sky Moore, Jahan Dotson, all these are going to go off the board, and I'm going to sit at wide receiver 9 and get George Pickens. And that's one of the few in this class that I'm going to be fine with. If I'm at the 109, I'm probably not going to take him. But if I had to, I would probably take him over Christian Watson. But I love that 111, 112 spot, because I know he's going to be sitting there in almost every draft.
I mean, it doesn't hurt for Narrative Street that he ends up in Pittsburgh, and where all we remember is the wide receivers that turned out well. Mind you, they've drafted as many wide receivers that haven't, but it's not as fun to talk about them. But they have a system there, right? They just move on they churn through wide receivers. So it's like George Pickens' turn is going to be in 2023, and maybe taking Chase Claypool's job and taking Deontay Johnson's #1 role. So yeah, I like Pickens. And David Ross noted, oh, there's a fire engine going by, so I'll let finish it.
They found you, Shane.
Oh, you go.
Okay.
Apparently it's in my apartment complex. Yeah.
Okay. Scott, I guess I probably jumped over Jahan Dotson a bit because I'm a Commanders fan. I don't know. Sometimes I don't want to talk about my team, but let's talk about him. He got great draft capital. What do you think about him?
I mean, is there a less exciting, really
like
good landing spot / high draft capital player?
Exactly.
I wasn't a fan before, but I also assumed he was going to go in the late first round, and he was a candidate to go to one of these teams that everyone liked. But I think his value jumped up for the same reason, except for he didn't go to one of the places you like, but he got drafted a whole hell of a lot higher than people thought. So you have to respect the fact that he was literally a top half of the first round draft pick, and you have to respect that. But now he's not who if I'm sitting at the 107 or 108 and the first 4 are gone and Olave's there, I'm going to take Olave over him. But then that's where I'm going to start to deviate and go, okay, Pickens, Sky Moore, you know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm going to maybe go against what I know I should go. I know I should take the 16th overall pick and wide receiver 5 in the class over Sky Moore, who was the wide receiver 13 in the class. who went in the late second. You know, like I know that's good process, but it's going to be hard for me to do that. That's why I'm going to have to come off my bias because I didn't like Dotson before the draft.
That's the same problem I have. I have Dotson right at the so I have the big 5 and then Dotson. But I know there's going to be a ton of leagues where people are going to go, no, he's one of the top 3 wide receivers. So I'm probably not going to be getting him in many leagues at all.
So we got 10 minutes. Let's talk running backs. Breece Hall goes to the Jets. Thoughts?
Look, the Jets, as we predicted, are going to be a high-powered offense, right? So you got to love that. I don't know. Is it concerning? It probably shouldn't be. That
how is it going to split? How's it going to split out?
70-30, but Carter's going to, that 30 is going to be way too many pass attempts, too many targets is what's going to annoy me because again, what we really want for our running backs is targets. And that's the one thing Michael Carter's particularly good at. So I can't imagine they just completely phase him out of the game. That said, or phase him out of the game. But that said, we thought the same with Nyheim Hines and JT, right? When JT went there, we didn't think that Nyheim Hines was going to disappear, and he completely disappeared last year, and they used JT in the passing game. So hopefully the Jets watch that and go, you know what? It's probably best just to keep the guy that's significantly better than the other dude on the field and just get him the ball. But Robert Saleh doesn't really look that smart to me. I don't know him that well. He just doesn't look smart. So I'm scared we're going to see more Michael Carter. Person. Yeah, I'm afraid we're going to see more Michael Carter than I want to say. But still, Breece Hall is top 5.
How's it gonna shake out touch wise, Scott?
Well, I mean, I think the Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor usage from the second half of Taylor's rookie year is probably pretty fair. But I think he was so good last year that he essentially absorbed a lot of the Nyheim Hines role. And so you kind of hope the same thing. But again, I mean, people are going to say that, like Shane just said it, it's natural to say Michael Carter is going to take the passing down work. Again, what if we get if I told you we would get an Antonio Gibson season from last year from Breece Hall for the first 2 years of his career, would you take that? Yes or no?
We're talking about
in this class. I would. Yeah, I would take that.
No, I'm just saying if Breece Hall does what Antonio Gibson did last year
in the second half of the year, right when J.D. McKissick was hurt and they kept throwing them and his shin was better.
I'm saying just you have to remember that Antonio Gibson was hurt for most of the year too, so you have to kind of look at those two things. My point is, Antonio Gibson had 300 touches. Everyone bitched about he doesn't get enough passing work. He still had 40 plus catches. So if you can get 40 catches for Breece Hall and he can get close to 300 touches for his first couple years in the league, what else can you ask for? Like if you want him to turn into Najee Harris or Jonathan Taylor, where he's literally getting 375 touches, then that's an outlier that's not going to come more than once or twice in a decade. So yes, if that's what you need to rank a guy in the top 2 or 3 running backs in Dynasty, then you need to probably check yourself on DeAndre Swift and Javonte Williams as well. So I mean that's kind of where I put him in there.
Don't say bad things about Javonte. The people will turn against you.
We gotta do a show on Javonte and
I'm just saying that there was expectations that Breece Hall goes to a landing spot and they use him like Najee Harris.
Yeah, and that's what I was hoping. And I wish Houston was a little better at this whole football thing because it almost happened and they let the Jets just jump in front of them. But we were this close to 400 touches for Breece Hall.
That's where I don't agree. That's not a given just because the depth chart looks bare. There are not a lot of teams that are going to use the running backs like Najee Harris got used. It doesn't matter how many players are on the depth chart. So I think to say that's what you expected and now you're disappointed because he landed in the Jets, a much bigger factor of Breece Hall is, are the Jets going to turn around and be a good offense? Are the Jets going to be an efficient offense? If they're a terrible offense like Denver was last year, then you're probably going to get stuck with a low-end RB2 with Breece Hall for the first couple of years. So you need the Jets to become good. If the Jets are good, I don't care if he has 290 touches. He'll get there. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like we've traded off volume for touchdowns because I'm already assuming the Jets offense is going to be good because Zach Wilson can't be that bad at football that they can't make that offense work because there's just too many weapons on that offense for it not to be good. So there should be a lot of scoring potential for Breece Hall.
Okay.
It's just, and look, when I say disappointed, look, I'm one of those dreamers. I wanted 80 receptions and 1,200 rushing yards. Like,
Yeah,
that's
right.
what I wanted. Like,
Just a
it's
freaking
probably not
smash
there
season,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, like I want that for every running back. You know what I mean? That's going to be the 101. So now I'll just tell myself that story for all the 2023 firsts.
Well, let me just throw this out, Clay, before you move on. If I told you you would get
Go for it.
Joe Mixon's career for Breece Hall, would you take it? Or would you be pissed? Would you be disappointed?
I would take it.
And I think most people would go, I'm disappointed. Even though Joe Mixon, points per game wise, has finished in the top 10 3 times, he's just never, other than last year where he was like RB6 or whatever, he's never absolutely smashed. And it feels like people have that expectation when they take a running back with 101. But if you told me you're going to give me Joe Mixon's career and he's averaged like 15.5 PPR points for his career, and he's literally handled like the 3rd most touches in the league since he came in the league, and that people are going to look back at his run and go, man, he could have been 20% better. And I wish he would have been better. He was a little bit of a bust. And I'm like, really? Is that your expectation? I mean, he's like one of the top 6 or 7 running backs in the last decade, and people wouldn't want that career for Breece Hall. And I'm like, I'll take it.
Take it all day. How about we talked enough about Kenneth Walker. Let's talk about James Cook real quick. So out of Georgia, gets drafted by Buffalo at 63. Everybody was wanting Breece Hall to go there, and they got James Cook. So obviously he's going to get the Buffalo bump. What are your thoughts on him,
Shane?
So apparently they're already talking about him.
Singletary.
They're already talking about just splitting him out wide as a wide receiver on a lot of plays, which is, it's disconcerting when you hear that about a running back, because that's never a good thing in the way we think it should be. We're like, oh my God, that's awesome, because he's going to get, 150 touches and 100 targets, when it's like, no, he's probably going to get like 80 rushing attempts and then like 60 targets.
It means he doesn't have a defined role, is what that means.
His defined role will be a pass catcher, right? So Devin Singletary is going to be the banger, I guess. And like they tried with Zach Moss, and I assume, I mean, look, they gave him really high draft capital for all we know. Like, I'm the guy that kept saying the Bills have told you and shown you that they don't like Devin Singletary. And this might actually be that. It's just, I don't know, based on his actual running ability, that he's the guy that's going to knock Devin Singletary completely out of that role. I think we'll see a lot 60-40 split at the most ever for Cook and Singletary. And I think we're looking at much closer to like a 50-50 thing, where Cook's going to be on the field and 2 minute and hurry up offense and some goal line stuff when they're passing the ball and when they're behind, which I don't know if the Bills were ever actually behind in any game last year, even in the games they lost. But the upside's there, right? Hey, they're going to split him out at wide receiver. Maybe he'll get 120 receptions.
It is. Hey, before you start talking, Scott, let me just let me throw this in there. Hey guys, would you mind putting like in the comments like any ideas you want us to do for shows, whether it's doing a mock draft or doing a wide receiver only show or individual players. Just throw some ideas in there if you don't mind while Scott's talking, and I can go back and see what the community wants. Thank you. Go ahead, Scott.
Well, no, so on to James Cook. So some interesting numbers. We talked about this in the Patreon chat the other day. I mean, Devin Singletary last year was 9th at running back in terms of snap rate, 5th overall in the league in terms of overall snaps. So to me, that says 2 things. It says, one, that by drafting a running back this high, they didn't like giving Devin Singletary that many snaps. I think that's a fair conclusion to come to. But the fact that he also played 718 snaps, and that was only 60% of the rushing snaps for Buffalo. So that's a good offense. I mean, they're going to run a lot of plays. So I think there's a room for both of these guys to be very viable. But then I look back at like the last, not this past year, but the year before with Nyheim Hines. I think you could see something like that similar for Devin Singletary, where he has less, or for James Cook, where he has less than 100 carries, probably like maybe 70 to 80 carries. But you could also see him getting 60, 70 receptions. And that still allows Devin Singletary to be a low-end RB2 or a mid-tier RB2 based on the number of plays Buffalo is going to run. So I actually like James Cook for probably where he's going to go if he's going to go outside of the first round. I think if you're getting in drafting him over Pickens or drafting him over Sky Moore, I don't know if I would do that. At the same time, I actually think I buy Devin Singletary more now. I think there's going to be opportunities where you can maybe get the Devin Singletary for 212, 211, like those type of picks in this class. I would actually buy into him. I don't think Buffalo is saying they're out on him. I think they're just saying they wanted a compliment. They want like a Naheem Hines with him. But I think the pace for them is going to be allow both of them to be viable. I can see both of them finishing as like Singletary as RB20 and James Cook is like RB30 or something like that. And they both be viable.
I like it.
I believe you that way.
Yeah, there's some good ideas coming in the comments. I appreciate it, guys. That's good stuff right there. Just like 4 or 5 good shows that just popped up there. Okay, so we are an hour in. This is fun, man. We got to do more. We got to do more live streams.
Whatever you say, you're the boss. Me and Scott just show up and we do as we're told.
Dude, I would have no job as my second or third job if you guys didn't exist. So thank you. You are my boss. I mean, I do a lot of work to keep this thing going, but whatever.
I mean, you know how much prep Shane and I do for our Mannequin Chills. It's Shane, about 6:00 p.m. Shane, you want to do a Mannequin Chill? Sure. 2 hours. Boom. We're in. There's no show sheet. There's no plan. It's just our brains are thinking Dynasty 24/7. Hence why our Patreon chats are, in the middle of work during the day. Shane and I are talking about Dynasty. It's just on our minds all the time.
Yep. All right, so yeah, we're gonna jump off, but thanks everyone who joined. You guys rock for hitting us up in the comments all the time, and just we feel like we're building a community here, right? But yeah, anytime you have any ideas for show ideas, just throw them in the comments. We're always open to and welcome suggestions. Yeah, what else? Oh, follow us on the Insta and the TikTok.
Get on the TikTok, baby.
Yeah, and we got some emails for the 5-star reviews to be able to qualify for the Listener League lottery. So the idea was to have it be you sign up for TikTok, Instagram, all of that good stuff. The main idea is we want to have a bunch of 5 stars written for this community. It doesn't have to be Shane, doesn't have to be Scott. A lot of them have been, but just write 5-star reviews for your favorite podcasts. Email it to dynastytradesin5@gmail.com. It doesn't take that long. I'm guilty myself. I've listened to 15 podcasts and I've probably only written 5-star reviews for 5 of them. So it helps. The algorithm likes it. So do that. Email it to dynastytradesin5@gmail, and you can have a shot at getting into the second Listener League. 14 team Superflex, tight end premium auction, baby. Let's roll.
Let's roll.
Good stuff. Appreciate everybody. Be chill.
All right, guys. See you later.